Good evening. We want to welcome you to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And we're just excited about tonight's broadcast. I tell you, if you saw last night, if you saw last week's broadcast, you had a treat. If you didn't, you want to make sure you go to the In the Blender page and view last week's broadcast. We talked about things I wish someone would have told me about the blended family. And tonight we're going to do part 2 of that. And so we just want you guys to just get ready to buckle up, and we're going to go for this awesome ride. I tell you, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be some things that's going to be funny. It's going to be some things that make you go, And I tell you, you just don't want to miss it. Right now, we're going to give you an opportunity to listen. If you know a blended family, you know someone that needs to hear this episode, you want to make sure that you shoot them a text real quick, get your other burner phone and give them a call and let them know that In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman is live on air, Facebook Live. And so we're excited, and we're going to jump right into it. We're going to go over some statistics, and then we're going to do a brief recap, and then we're going to tap right back into where we left off. So the first statistic was 23% of married adults have been married before. 92% of all men and women marry by the age of 50. 16% of children live with a blended parent, blended sibling, or half sibling. And 13% of adults are blended parents, 29 to 30 million people. So that's huge. 15% of that are men or blended dads, and 12% are women, moms. And so, again, we love giving statistics. We love just letting people know where that dynamic lies, some of the changes that we need to make to improve upon some of the statistics, and some of the changes we need to make to take away from some of the statistics. And so we're excited. We're ready to move right into it. So giving you guys a brief overview of last week's episode, we talked about you like things your way more than you think. Finding out that a lot of people don't realize how much they like things their way until they get into this dynamic. Especially if you've already been married before, you've been divorced, and now you're remarried. There's certain things that you like a certain way, and you don't even really know that you like them that way until you now get into this dynamic. One of the things that I had to deal with was I like spending a lot of time by myself. And we didn't really talk about that last week, but I'm a type of individual, I can spend quality time by myself. I can, read. I can be on my laptop, my iPad. I could watch TV. I could just spend quiet time by myself. And so it was a real adjustment for me coming into this dynamic and have to spend time with my wife and with the girls. And so I wasn't quite used to that. And so they like, what's wrong with you? Why you always go in a room and close the door? Well, I just love just doing things, but I love being by myself. I love spending time by myself. It was giving me opportunity to think and put things into perspective, and not realizing that I was no longer by myself and I had to share my time with others. And so I didn't realize how much I liked that just within itself. And so that was a challenge for years, me breaking that habit of just wanting to be by myself, wanting to spend time just by myself. I mean, I can entertain myself. I think I'm quite hilarious. I laugh at my own jokes. Yes, I do. And so, but again, we talked about that. You liking things your way more than you think. Then we talked, what was the next thing we talked about, sweet?
There may be some jealousy with the ex.
There may be some jealousy with the ex. And so we approached that from two sides. There could be some jealousy. We talked about, we didn't deal with that as far as my wife and her ex-husband, but we dealt with that concerning me and my ex-wife. And so I remember, because we got a child together, I'm saying, hey, listen, I'm about to get remarried. And wow, didn't know the response that I got was what I was going to get. And so, you know, you don't know. Nobody ever tell you that you might have to deal with that. Was something you want to say? Oh, and you know, so a lot of people don't know that may be something you have to deal with. And then on the flip side, people deal with it from the opposite, you know, perspective of when you get into this blended dynamic, and especially when you got children involved, that new spouse sometimes develops jealousy. Why you got to call them? Why you got to talk to them? Why you got to do this? Why you got to do that? And not having the maturity to understand that you have to deal with that person. It was so much so with us having an understanding and a maturity that I sat down with the girl's dad and said, listen, we both have something in common. We both want to see them grow up to be the best that they can be in life. And so one of the things I did was, because I was raising his daughters, or I was assisting in the raising of his daughters, I said, listen, you can come to our house at any time. You can come see your daughters at any time. I don't care when it is. If you need to see your daughters, you can come do it. The blessed part about it was he was mature enough not to take advantage of that situation. Because, you know, sometimes if you get that kind of open invite to people, some people will try you to see how far they can go with that thing. But thank God that we didn't have to deal with that. But I was clear with it. Like, listen, dude, I'm not concerned. I'm not worried. I'm not jealous. I'm not any of those things. I know that we have something in common. This is something that we're going to have to work on to make sure that they be the best. And I'm here for you. And listen, I opened my door, and there were times when 11 o'clock at night, he came. There were times, you know, at 10 o'clock, he came. Guess what? You can come in. I mean, I remember one time he was at the door, and it was cold outside, and the girl was talking to their dad through the door. Mm-hmm. And I remember going downstairs, and I'm like, why are you standing outside? Come on in. You know, hey, mi casa, su casa, come on in. Your baby's here. You know, and listen, you don't have to stand outside. When you want to see your daughters, man, come on in. And so, you know, but there were things that people dealing with this same dynamic or this same experience, they don't know how to handle this. And so these are some of the things that we know you wish you would have known going into this blended family. What's the next one?
You can have a hard time not comparing this life to the one that you previously had.
Wow. That's big. Because a lot of times, you know, it could be something as small as meals, you know, how your food is prepared, how your laundry is done, how the house is clean, you know, how the chores, just some of the simplest things that people can have a hard time not comparing this new blended family dynamic to their old life or their old family dynamic. And so you got to go into this thing with a clear slate, a clean slate, understanding that what we have together right now, we're building together, that we're going into this like we've never had it before. And, you know, there is no comparison. Mm-hmm. Because there are a lot of people, you know, I mean, again, you'll be surprised how many people have problems with the way, how many men have problems with the way their new wife cleans the house, or how she does the laundry, or how she prepares the meals. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? You got that look on your face like, wow, that's great. But guess what? My wife, man, she can cook. I ain't had no problems. She clean and she wash clothes. Well, I started off washing clothes, but then she took that over. So, you know, now we'll
because you just stopped. So I had no choice.
Don't try to bust me out.
Whatever.
But no, again, you'd be surprised how many people have problems in that area. Mm-hmm. And so, again, we're not going to really go into it. We just want to give a quick, brief overview of it. If you missed it, you want to go and view last week's episode. things I wish someone would have told me about the blended family. You want to view last week. This is part 2. We just want to give a quick recap. The next one is, it's possible that you will have a hard time putting your marriage first. That's big. Because it's very possible. It's possible that you will have a hard time putting your marriage first. And that comes through different ways. You know, my wife, she was so accustomed to doing things with the girls first. So accustomed to coming home, they're talking, they're spending time with each other, they're in their favorite place. And so having to put the marriage first, or having to put me first, wasn't a struggle, but it was sometimes difficult knowing how to handle it, how to do it the proper way without taking from one and without neglecting the other. And so these are things that, you know, we've heard people say. I wish somebody would have told me about that, because I'm so used to this, that, or the other. And now, you know, he or she feels like they aren't being appreciated. Or, you know, I don't really care about them. I don't really love them, because, you know, I want to, first I want to know how the kid's doing. I want to know how my child is doing. And then, you know, they know I love them, and I'll get to them later. But, you know, you got to deal with that first. And so things I wish somebody would have told me. The next one is, you will never be comfortable. Now, this one was hilarious. It's still hilarious. But you will never be comfortable about the littlest comment about your child or children, even if it's coming from the one that you said you would spend the rest of your life with. And so, wow.
I ain't going back over that one.
It's real, though, you know. 20 years in this, and I still better watch what I say. You know, and she still better watch what she say. We ain't gonna get this thing twisted. It's not just one way. You know, we still have to, hey, you know, you ain't have to say it like that. And it's funny, we laugh about it, but it's still a hint of, you really went there with that? And so you'll never really feel comfortable. Not that it's a problem, but we're talking about feeling comfortable. Because that's your baby, that's your child. You know, especially for the woman, you carry that child 9 months and you birthed them, and you dealt with all kind of issues as they grew up and as they're growing up. And then, you know, it's like you saying, you know, that child is sneaky. Well, that parent ain't going to see that child is sneaky. Even if they know that child's sneaky, you can't say that child is sneaky. You can't say that child, you know, lies or does whatever they do. It may always seem like it poses a problem, but those are some of the things that you guys got to talk about. You got to be honest about. You got to be mature enough to handle when that spouse says something that's real, that's true. And it's not to hurt you or hurt them. It's just an observation that they're letting you know, this is what I see, and this is how we need to handle it. And so we're going to pick up where we left off, and this next one is important. Hit that, sweetheart. Interactions.
Oh, that's where we are. Interactions. It's the former spouse or biological parent does not have to be unpleasant.
So interactions with the former spouse, that was my typo.
That don't even make sense.
Interactions with the former spouse or biological parent does not have to be unpleasant. And so a lot of times we make things unpleasant, but they don't have to be unpleasant. Understand something, is when children are involved, or when a child is involved, you're going to have interactions. You're going to have plenty of interactions, multiple interactions, more than you may or may not want to have. But that doesn't necessarily mean that those interactions with that ex or the biological parent has to be unpleasant. We set within ourselves to make sure that when we had interactions with the children's parent, biological parent, we made sure that we weren't going to have uncomfortable or unpleasant interactions. We just set ourselves to do that. We said, first of all, we're mature, we're grown, we know who we are, we know what we stand for, we know what we believe in. And so there's nothing, we weren't going to allow them or any situation to put us in a place where we felt out of place. And too many times, people say, I can't deal with them. Well, guess what? Because you said it, that's what you're getting.
Because you have what you say.
You have what you say. And when you say it's unpleasant, I really just don't like dealing with them, it didn't even matter to me, even dealing with my son's mother. It didn't matter to me what she would try to say or her response to things, because I understood that my response was my responsibility. And so because I understood that my response was my responsibility, my interactions wasn't unpleasant with her. I just made sure to just make it known that, listen, these are the things that we can talk about. These are the things we can't talk about. These are the things that I will tolerate. These are the things I won't tolerate. And once I laid down the ground rules as it relates to our interactions weren't unpleasant. They were quite pleasant. There were times when I had to put my foot down and, kind of draw the line in the sand. But overall, I didn't have unpleasant interactions because I made it known how we were going to respond to each other. And so that's important. What's the next one?
You can love the children as if you were their biological parent.
Yes. You can love them just like you were, man. I could tell you about that one. You can love those children or that child just as if you were the biological, or you are the biological parent. I remember growing up, I used to tell myself I didn't want to marry someone with children. And then I wind up marrying someone with children. And the feeling that I had when I made them mine, because I made them mine like right off the back. It wasn't a year later, 6 months later. No, I did make them mine. There were some things I didn't know how to do. There were some things I didn't do right, but making them mine, they was, you feel what I'm saying? They were always mine. Even when I remember people would ask, like, how many children you have. It was never, I got one child, I got 3 stepdaughters. It was never that. Immediately, that's what I'm saying. I made them mine.
I got you.
And so once I made them mine, of course we grew in our relationship and we matured in our relationship. But the mere fact of them being mine was, oh man, I had children, I got grandchildren. That thing was awesome. And so you have to understand that you can love that child or those children as if they're your biological parent. I'm so locked into my girls, and my girls are so locked into me that my interactions with them are just as if they're my biological.
Yeah.
They are. It's like they know what I'm thinking. I know what they're thinking. They know how I'm going to respond. I know how they're going to respond. You don't just get that, just out of a platonic relationship or something where there's no investment.
Right.
You get that through and by investment. And because I invested that time in them and they invested that time in me, our relationship is just like as if I'm their biological parent. Even their introduction of me is that I'm their biological father. This is my dad. They don't say, this is my stepdad, or this is the man that's married to my mother. Because some of y'all get that. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate, but we can show you how to move beyond that.
Right.
And so you have to understand that you can love that child or those children as if you were their biological parent. The blended family can be made easy. The blended family can be made easy. You got anything to say on that one?
You got it. You're doing good.
This is a first. I just wanted to see. I'm trying to pump her up because normally she'll just try to take over. Even if she say, I don't got nothing to say, then she got a bunch to say. So we'll see what's going on with that. But the blended family can be made easy. It really can. Unfortunately, people make it hard.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. But it can be made easy. Anything we do in life can be made easy. What do you mean? Put the effort to it. It's all about effort. It's all about how bad you want it. Too many times we hear people say they want it. They want their marriage. They want their relationship. They want their blended family. They want this and they want that. But they don't put the effort into it. It's symbolic to, or I can use this for an example. Wanting to lose weight. I could talk about that now. Mm-hmm. But that was made easy. How was it made easy? By the choices that I made. There were choices that I had to make in order for that weight loss to be easy.
Choices that you had to make and steps you had to take.
Exactly. It's just like bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like there's certain things that my wife has to do to get the results she wants. There's certain things I have to do to get the results I want. Because we're building our bodies. We're making our bodies better. And so there are things that we have to do to get the results we want. You know what I mean? And so I'm not talking about like, you know, people want to compete or anything like that. When I'm saying bodybuild, I'm saying you getting that temple together. You're getting that temple in order. You know, you're working on, you know, the little love handles. That's bodybuilding. You know, you're working on them love handles. Or you know, you're working on that them areas that sag and kind of droop where gravity has set in. That's bodybuilding. And so, but there's steps that you have to take. There's meal prep. Mm-hmm. So even in the blended family, how do you make your meals in the blended family? You have what you say. So you got to make sure you're eating the right things. What goes in will come out. Mm-hmm. So if you're getting your advice or you're getting counsel from people that have unsuccessful relationships, or you're getting advice and counsel from people that are struggling in their relationship, then guess what? You're not going to have an easy marriage. You're not going to have an easy blended family. It's not going to be made easy. But when you surround yourself by people that are proven, people that have gone through and have been victorious, people that have made proper choices and decisions as relates to this dynamic, and it's clear and precise that what they've done has been a success, then guess what? You now can just feed off of that, and what you dealt with, you can make it easy. What's the next one?
The blended parent and the biological parent can function like a team.
Wow. I remember, you know, we talked to Willie Moore Jr. He was talking about how how he used to call his son's mother his baby mother, his baby mama. And he realized that she acted just like a baby. She acted immature because that's how he was classifying her. That's the word he was speaking over her. Mm-hmm. But when he began to change that and began to call her the mother of his child, then all of a sudden he said he saw a transition take place even in her. And there was a maturity that came along with even how he acknowledged her, mm-hmm. that made their teamwork easy.
Yep.
It made them on one accord. It's just like the same thing I talk about even with the girl's dad. It's so amazing how we get along and how we communicate and how we just can fellowship. And we on the same team. And there's no ism, there's no schism, there's no hidden agendas, there's no jealousy. There's nothing that we have to deal with but knowing that we have something in common, and that's our girls. Mm-hmm. And so we operate as a team when it comes to correction, when it comes to discipline. We're on the same team. Mm-hmm. And so it made what I had to do easy because I put the effort into allowing him to be on my team. And he put the effort into allowing me to be on his team. And so you have to work at this, guys. You have to put the work in so that you too can have, or you two can function like a team.
Right.
What's the next one?
The last one?
You
don't have to assume a position of authority.
You don't have to assume a position of authority. And I wanted to close with that because that's the biggest. Too many times we talk to countless people that are fighting for authority. They're fighting for who's the head who's the man, who's the this, who's the that. You don't have to assume a position of authority because it's already there. I knew going into, one of the things I struggled with early on was trying to assume a position of authority. I'm the head of the house. I'm the man. I'm the this. I'm the that. And let me say this, especially to you guys that have this struggle, if that's something that you got to constantly say, then that's something you need to evaluate within yourself. Now, yeah, there are some times where, you know, the other parts of this have to understand that. But if it's something that you have to consistently project and say, then you need to figure out why is it you are the one that need to say that. See, for a man, it's easy to be understood that you are the head. It's easy to be understood that you are the head of the household, that you are the man, if you're walking in it. Mm-hmm. If you're walking as the head, if you're living as the head, if you're respectful, if you're honorable, if you walk with integrity and character, then guess what? There's certain things you don't have to say. There's certain things you don't have to push because it's understood. And so you don't have to assume a position of authority because it's already yours. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to assume anything because it was already mine. All I had to do was learn how to walk as a head. All I had to do was learn how to walk as the man, walk as the husband, walk as the provider, walk as the nurturer. And when I learned how to do those things, there was no more assumption. Mm-hmm. Because it was known who I was and what my position and role was. Same thing as the wife, as the mother, as the woman. When you're doing those things, you don't have to say, I'm your wife. Because it's a lot of, we hear that. Well, I'm his wife. Well, then be his wife then. Don't be his mother, be his wife. It's a difference. Don't be her husband, don't be her father, be her husband. There's a difference. Because it's a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, they got this thing twisted. You got children, they need parenting. Mm-hmm. Your spouse don't need parenting. Your spouse needs a spouse. And so when you understand your position, there's no assumption because you're walking in it. Wow. We're almost out of time. My goodness. Listen, guys, we're so, just so excited about this week's broadcast. We know it felt a little rushed. It felt like, because we had a lot to cover in so little time. But there are so many things that we hear on a daily basis, especially when we're talking to people, things they wish somebody would have told them about this blended family. There's so many other things that we could have covered that we just didn't have time to cover. But listen, if there's something that you want to know, or if you want us to cover, how can they reach us?
Email us at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
You can email us at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
Did I say that?
I don't know what you said.
Okay. Something. But you can email us at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. And listen, there's so many things that we want to share with you guys. There's so many things that we're going to be bringing to you guys this year that's going to be quite different than what we had on last year. We're coming up, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary within the blender. We got some exciting stuff. February the 14th, but that episode is going to be on the 13th.
Oh yeah, the Tuesday.
It's going to be on that Tuesday. And so we're super excited. 1 year, guys. 1 year we've been blessed to share with you guys.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday at 7:30, 30
Haven't
minutes.
Missed the Tuesday.
Haven't missed the Tuesday. And I tell you, it's just been awesome. But sweetheart, let's give our final thought.
Always remember that every family is different and may have different challenges. So every blended family challenge should be addressed individually depending upon the challenge.
The personalities are different, so you want to use measures that work for you.
One of the main things you should always do is keep the lines of communication open in the blended family.
Parents should always show unity in front of the children, even if they secretly don't agree.
Showing that you are unified diffuses the enemy's attacks in the blended family.
Lastly, you want to always demonstrate patience.
Having patience to work through the difficult challenges in the blended family will bring about a happy blended family.
And remember, you became a blended family because you chose to. Now choose to be successful. We love you guys. We thank you for viewing. Now, don't forget to share. We thank you for viewing, but don't forget to share. Until next week, we got something exciting for you. God bless you and bye-bye.